we are getting into Mercury today. Mercury is often discussed as being Mercury in retrograde. Oh, I'm having a bad day because Mercury is in retrograde, blah blah blah. But in this video, I want to discuss in depth and in detail what Mercury is really about, what it really represents as a planet, how it affects us, how it affects things in this world. It holds a lot of power and influence on things around us. And as I was doing my research on Mercury and both the spiritual side and the factual side or the scientific side, I was just kind of laughing to myself because I'm like, since we're going to be dealing with Gemini and Virgo, I know that these signs tend to not be as open to spiritual ideas or kind of like things that are more philosophical. They like concrete facts, they like things that are tangible, things that have facts and scientific evidence behind it. So, you know, as I state in my previous videos, this type of information is not going to be for everyone, because some people are more logical and practical, and other people are definitely more spiritual and intuitive. And maybe this video, since I'm going to be talking about more logical things, might appeal to some of the more critical, logical, scientific kinds of people. But I think that a lot of my content, since it's more spiritual, might not appeal to these people. But everyone is welcome to join in and participate in this discussion. I'm not judging at all. So I'm very excited to be getting into Mercury today. It is the planet of communication. It is an intellectual planet. We're getting into the whole Virgo energy here. We're getting into that Gemini energy, that kind of scientific energy, that logical energy, which is associated with Mercury. Mercury is not really emotional. It's more logical, it's more practical. It's more about the facts, the concrete facts. Do you have the facts? Do you have the results? Did you do your research? Did you do your research? Is it peer-reviewed? Are your articles peer-reviewed? You know, all that kind of stuff that we come across in university, in higher knowledge schools. Like if we're taking certain courses like to do with higher knowledge, we have to have, you know, the peer-reviewed articles. We have to have our sources, our cited sources in a certain format. You know, it's very specific. And if you are in the sciences, and not even the sciences, because I studied communications in university and media and all that. So for me, because it was an academic level, I had to actually use peer-reviewed sources and all that whenever I was doing a certain project, a certain assignment. I would have to cite my sources. So yeah, Mercury is associated with higher knowledge. It's associated with how we intake knowledge, how we process knowledge, and it is associated with how we share knowledge, how we give out knowledge to others. Hermes, the Greek god of wisdom, intelligence, the Greek god of you've got mail, yes, because Hermes is a messenger. The god of the underworld and the physical world and other realms, because Hermes can delve into all the realms, because it's a messenger of all the gods. Hermes was a messenger of all the Greek gods. Hermes is fast and quick, like quick-witted. He's quick with information. He's kind of like TMZ. He's gonna break the latest story. He's going to share information very quick out into the public, out into this world. Hermes, the Greek god, is Mercury. Okay, so Hermes represents Mercury. If you look at Hermes, I have my little Hermes earrings, the caduceus, I don't know if this is called the caduceus symbol, which is connected to Hermes. This is a symbol of like commerce and all that. There's another symbol with the snake. That one is to do with healthcare, but this one is more so like commerce. maybe a little bit of communication, but mainly like commerce and trade. And the symbol with the snake and the staff in the middle and the snake like swirling above it, no wings, is the symbol associated with healthcare and like medicine and healthcare and all that. So Hermes is often depicted with wings. He's often depicted with wings on at the bottom of like his heel by his feet, because he's fast, he's quick, kind of like that character Flash from the comic books, Flash guy. He reminds me of Hermes. Like, he's really fast. Even when he's talking, it's like, oh, like very, very fast, like a Gemini, very, very quick. And also, Hermes is a trickster. He's a trickster, so he can come at people in various ways. He can share information in various ways, share knowledge in various ways. He can persuade people, he can tempt people, he can deceive people, like a two-faced, you know, he can be two-faced because he's a trickster, he's an equal opportunist. So he's like, oh yeah, you want to play this way with me? I'll play this way with you. You know, he's a trickster, he doesn't really give a shit. He doesn't follow certain rules and codes. That's his energy. That is trickster energy, like very quick-witted, very energetic, like go-getters. They are very much marching to the beat of their own drum and don't really care too much about what it causes. Sometimes that trickster energy can teach people things, even if it's kind of like a negative lesson or a karmic lesson. It can still teach people something, and they'll still be able to learn right from wrong and discern, you know, good from bad and all kinds of stuff. So sometimes that trickster energy is needed in this world, and just to have a laugh and just to make fun of serious, dark, somber situations. That trickster energy is very good for that as well. Mercury goes into retrograde a lot. It is a fast-moving planet. It is a planet that is close to the sun, and the color associated with Mercury is green. Mercury represents thoughts, communication, innovation, how people process knowledge. It is more logical, like I said, than emotional. So, how do you communicate with others? What is your style of communication? Are you someone that is more non-verbal with how you communicate? Like, you just give people the eye, you just give people the vibes, you give people the energy, like maybe a water sign, you give people the stare, you give people the you know, like, is you crazy? Do you give people the is you crazy? Do you give people the feelings, the emotions? So yes, Mercury is associated with how you communicate with others. What is your communication style? Are you more emotional and intuitive? Do you just give off vibes to people? Are you a non-verbal communicator to where you don't have to say shit? You don't have to say shit to anyone. You can just let them feel how you're feeling. You can communicate what's in your mind, and just through your energy, just, you know, like a water sign, just kind of dish off that energy to others. Or you just give them that up and down, you give them that stare, you give them that is you crazy, you know, like you just have this kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I feel some people definitely don't have to communicate with their mouth. they're more non-verbal with their communication, but you can still kind of get where they're coming from. And you can tell if they dislike something or they like something, just kind of like by their energy. Some people are definitely non-verbal communicators. And then there's others that are just like fire signs and air signs are usually very talkative, very chatty, very quick. You know, that fire is quick, fire is a quick starter, and that air is just quick in general. Aquarius and Gemini are very like innovative signs. There are signs connected to the future technology, future trends, future ideas and ways of living and being. So these signs are going to play an important role when it comes to the innovation and the development of society and things around us in this world. So what I've noticed with fire signs is that the way that they communicate, it's quick, it's fast. They can be quite funny, they can be quite expressive and to the point in that moment that you're speaking with them. But sometimes they can be a little bit offensive because, you know, the fire is so quick and they just want to get out their ideas, get out everything they have to say, that sometimes some things might slip out in the conversation that might be bad or might be like offensive, might be seen as rude. But sometimes it's just that fire energy where, and fire signs know it. They know that sometimes they just step over the line. But with fire signs, they definitely can rub people up the wrong way, especially people that don't know them, when they're just sharing everything like very quickly in the moment. And not everyone might take a liking to that, you know, especially if it's offensive, if they find it rude, you know, it depends on the individual. But yeah, sometimes fire signs need to be careful with how quickly they share things, and sometimes maybe just take a chill and think things through a little bit before sharing it with everyone. Air signs are a little bit more, I wouldn't say cautious, but they're a little bit more, like they do think things through over a bit, but at the same time, air, since you don't know what to expect with air, it's very unpredictable. It could be very random at times. So I would say with air is they're very quick and witty people. They can come up with a lot of great ideas and jokes and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of creative things. They can just, their mind is very creative, very out there. And can they say things that offend people? Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation, but I do find they're slightly more, depending on who the air sign is, they're slightly more conservative than fire signs when it comes to saying bad things. Or, well, it depends, because, you know, with Gemini there can be the two sides to them. So if they want to be in their more darker aspects, then they might share negative things or say things that are mean and nasty. But if they are on a more healthy note, the more healthy side of themselves, then they'll be like talking about things that are just practical, logical, innovative. They'll be engaging in conversation very well with others in a healthy way, not really getting into too much drama and gossip, which is kind of associated with Gemini sometimes. Even though they're not the main perpetrators of that, they do get labeled as being gossip mongers. They do get labeled as being the type of people to not keep a secret, the type of people that can't just shut their mouth for 2 seconds. Like, but you know, that is definitely a stereotype, because a lot of Geminis that we see in this world are like scientists. They're more into like being in the science field, being analysts, being researchers, working in IT, working with like information and data and stuff like that. So not every Gemini is just all about being popular and like a gossip monger. That is far from the truth. I mean, Geminis are known to be the serial killers of the zodiac. So, you know, when it comes to their mind, their mental state and all that, you don't really know who you're dealing with sometimes with a Gemini, because they can just switch different personalities. They make great actors and actresses. A lot of Geminis are actually actors and actresses. Johnny Depp is one. I'm sure there's probably a lot of females as well. I don't know. I don't really follow Gemini people in general, or have any kind of Gemini celebrities I kind of idolize or look up to, but I believe they'd be great performers, because first of all, they're very witty, and they can probably outshine a lot of their co-stars, because they don't necessarily need a script. I find with Gemini people, they don't need a script. They don't necessarily need that information. They can just run off of their own mind and their own information, their own wit stored in here. They don't need to necessarily seek out knowledge. And mind you, they like and enjoy knowledge and they love researching and all that. But when it comes time to performing and being in front of an audience and all that, they're not going to be pulling out any notes or shit like that. No, a Gemini is going to handle the situation. A Gemini is going to take charge and control of being the actor, the actress. You know, they're gonna take control, and they're gonna sometimes supersede their co-stars, the people around them. They're gonna take the spotlight because it's just kind of in their nature. It's just they're able to shape shift so much and put themselves into another character very, very well. And like I said, they understand the human condition, the human mind, and that is why they're the serial killers of the zodiac, because some of them are evil geniuses. Some of them are definitely evil geniuses. They are like that mad scientist, creating Frankenstein and all that, They can definitely have, like, if they're the darker Gemini, they can have like a dark streak, they can have like a scary streak, where it's all scientific and logic and throwing emotions out the window, and I don't give a shit if it hurts you, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. Like, say it like you mean it. Like Wendy Williams, say it like you mean it. Like Joan Rivers, say it like you mean it. Like, I don't give a shit how much it hurts. It's funny as fuck, and everyone else is laughing, and I don't give a shit how many people it hurts. Like, it could be really scary when you're dealing with that Gemini energy. The dark sides of the Gemini energy, they will say some shit to you that's going to disturb you. It could be mean, it could be hurtful. But when we look at the positive sides of Gemini, we can't discount the innovative ideas, we can't discount how much Geminis teach us and the creative concepts they come up with. I'm sure a lot of the innovators in this world are Geminis, like the people that create certain machinery and that have invented certain things. I'm sure a lot of them have been Geminis and continue to be Geminis, just because they're blessed with the downloads from the universe. They're blessed with they're blessed to the point where they can quickly come up with something. For some people it might take a longer time, but Gemini is just so much going on in their head that they can just come up with many different things, many different ideas, and they might not follow through with every single project and every single thing because, they're playing different roles, but they definitely come up with great concepts and ideas, and they need to trademark that shit because, copyright that shit. Someone might want to steal that because it's just, they see the potential with it. I don't even know, the Gemini might be not on to the next concept and forget about the past thing that they created, but some of the ideas that they come up with are just out of this world. They are innovative, they are great. They can really help propel businesses into a new light. They can help develop old, outdated systems and structures. So that kind of energy is definitely needed. And of course, Mercury is all to do with that. It's really influencing that. Water signs are more intuitive, they're more emotional, they're more go with the flow. They can kind of feel out people's energy. They might take a slower time to respond. They might not respond at all because they're feeling out people's energy. They can tell when someone's bullshitting them, stuff like that. So water and earth signs are definitely more slow when it comes to communication. They sometimes take a slower time to process things. It's not like fire and air, which are quick. As an earth sign myself, I do take my time. If I'm learning something, I don't want to rush and finish it, because I feel like if I rush and finish it, I only get little pieces of it, and it doesn't feel deep, it doesn't feel substantial enough to me. So I like to take my time. If I'm focused on a subject, or if I'm focused on a certain thing, just take my time, process everything, organize everything. Organizing is key as well, because when you organize things more, then you're able to digest that knowledge better when it's a little bit more structured, especially for an earth sign. You need that structure, you need that kind of routine to help you learn and process information more. So I like to take my time when it comes to learning things. Even when I'm speaking, I do take my time a bit. People with strong Mercury in their charts, people with a lot of Gemini and Virgo energy will work in fields to do with IT, fields to do with science, fields to do with technology. Some of them might be therapists, some of them might be teachers, instructors, some of them might be analysts, some of them might be reviewers, some of them might be in the communications media field. So Mercury Hermes is all about information, sharing ideas, sharing the latest story, hot off the press, before everyone gets it, sharing stories all over the world, news all over the world. The media has their own goddess called Medea. I believe she's a Greek god. She's either Greek or Roman. And the media and PR and communications is all connected to Hermes because it involves dishing out information, dishing out stories about not just celebrities and all that, but things happening in this world. The media is also like news, so serious things, politics. It's also news associated with sports, news associated with the weather, you know, different types of news. Mercury is exalted in Virgo and it is debilitated in the zodiac sign Pisces. So when we compare Virgo and Pisces, we have Virgo who is logical, analytical. Virgo's an earth sign, practical. Virgo is into facts and research. It is also structured, just like the other earth signs. Virgo is very structured, very precise. Virgo is very much about the details, the fine details. Even if a Virgo is an artist, you will notice that their art has some structure to it. Their art has a kind of logical flow to it. They're very particular about their aesthetic or their aesthetics. Michael Jackson was a Virgo, Beyonce is Virgo. I believe Michael Jackson, he had a Pisces rising, but when you look at how detailed he was, like down to every single freaking detail, like OCD detail, you understand that kind of Virgo energy, like everything detailed, you know, all the structure, all the planning that goes behind that, all the planning and work and effort. It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of work. And then we have Pisces. Pisces is more intuitive, it's more feeling, it's more emotional. It's very creative, and just like Virgo's creative, Pisces is creative. But Pisces is not looking at research and things around them for inspiration. Pisces is more so in their own worlds. They're in a kind of fantasy. They're in a different dimension. We can say, like, in terms of like a spiritual term for it, they're in another dimension. They're in different realms, because Pisces is very much, since it's very like good at shape-shifting, it can adapt to different environments and realms very well. And when I just mentioned Michael Jackson had a Pisces rising, I believe he had a Pisces rising, he was able to change his appearance, right? Because rising sign and ascendant sign governs your outward appearance, how people perceive you, the outward version of yourself, what you wear, what you display yourself as, like aesthetically display yourself as. And Michael Jackson was able to shapeshift himself. So yes, Pisces is a shapeshifter. It can adapt to many realms, spiritual realms, you know, the fifth dimension, all kinds of stuff. It can astral travel to different realms, you know. Pisces need to be aware of protecting themselves in spiritual realms, assuming that everything's all sunshine and daisies and roses. It's not true. You know, you need to protect yourself. Just like how you have to protect yourself in the physical realm, you have to protect yourself in the spiritual realm, and learn about shadow work, learning about protection practices and things you can do to make sure that you are more safe in the little spiritual realms, you know. So Pisces, since they can feel and they can be very reminiscent and they can kind of like be a little bit nostalgic, kind of like with Cancer. They can be a little bit nostalgic and all that, and feeling, and that Virgo energy is kind of like, you know, it's kind of airy-fairy to me. This little kind of, this energy, this Pisces energy is a little bit airy-fairy. It's not my cup of tea. And the Pisces is like, well, you're rigid and you're too structured and you're very like snobbish with your science and your facts, and you can't see outside of your little scientific box. Like Pisces just kind of, you know, those two energies. That's why with Mercury, it does well in Virgo, but it doesn't do so well with Pisces. I might have a little bit of struggle with Pisces, with that Pisces energy. So it's important to know what sign lies in your Mercury, because just like with your Saturn sign, your Venus sign, this is going to show you your communication style, how you communicate with others, how you articulate and express yourself, how people perceive your communication, what do they think of your communication style. Like I was mentioning with the water signs don't really have to communicate with like chat on words. They can just, you can just feel their energy. Sometimes they can manipulate their energy because they just feel like manipulating their energy or throwing people off, so they can definitely manipulate their energy. But if you're in a good relation with a water sign and they want to share how they feel, they'll kind of like give you that look like, I don't like this bitch, or are you really doing that again? You know, they'll kind of give you this kind of energy, this kind of vibe, and it's just very unique and specific to certain water signs. Maybe Scorpio, Cancer, definitely. I definitely feel the vibes with Cancer, but they can also manipulate. They're very good manipulators and kind of pretend to be the victim. They can pretend to be the victim sometimes if they want. But yeah, and when it comes to how you communicate and how you get your points and ideas across to people, that is connected to Mercury. So in school we learn our language. Depending on what country you're in, you know, you're going to be learning your language, you're going to be writing that language down, the letters down, all that. So writing and language is a form of spell casting. The English language is a language of spells. When you're in school and you're learning your language, depending on whatever country you're in, you're going to be writing down the letters, writing down the words, speaking it. Words are spells. Spelling bee. Spelling bee. You are casting spells every time you write, every time you speak. That's why you should be mindful of what you're speaking out to the world. In this day and age, you know, most people don't realize, oh, we're casting spells. Like, it's just part of live spelling and language and communication. But a lot of people understood this back in the day, like pre-Christianity. They definitely knew about the power of words and language and communication. And yes, you need to be careful with what you say, because it could impact and change things around you. It can change the attitude and the moods of people around you. So being mindful of what you say is a good thing. You know, sharing certain type of knowledge, enlightening others, sharing innovative ideas is a good thing as well. They have these like classes called elocution classes or etiquette classes where you can speak properly and pronounce the word endings and enunciate things. Like, you know, if you've ever been to boarding school or somewhere in the UK, you will know what I'm talking about with like elocution and etiquette and all this lessons. And do you have proper diction when you speak? Do you pronounce the word endings? You know, very British boarding school vibes, right? So since I went to school in Ireland for some time, I definitely knew about that whole etiquette stuff, learning new language stuff. I didn't go for elocution lessons or anything like that, but they did teach me cursive and cursive writing, and I did learn a little bit of Gaelic, the Gaelic language, which I'm glad they're preserving in Ireland because it's part of their culture and their heritage. And the British really tried to eradicate a lot of Irish culture and heritage because they kind of wanted the Irish to be a little bit more British. So I learned about the genuine side of Ireland. I learned about the more screw the British side of Ireland, you know, the more authentic experience than the tourist side, because I was living there and I interacted with a lot of people there. And I did learn some of the Irish language and all that. When you really have conversations with Irish people, they will definitely not hold back with conversation. I find they're very quick-witted, they like to have a good laugh in the pub, you know, they like, especially after a couple of pints, oh my god, they're your best friend. Like, they will just share all kinds of information about everything in this world. It could be their life, it could be when they travel to different countries, like all kinds of stuff. They will share it with you. They will ask you a million questions, and especially if you're not Irish looking, if you're not like pale as hell, you know, I'm joking, not every Irish person is pale, but they will definitely like talk your ear off. They have the gift of gab, as they say. They don't need to kiss the Blarney Stone, honey. They don't need to kiss the Blarney Stone. A lot of Irish people, especially after a point, are gonna talk your ear off. And if you are not Irish, oh my goodness, and you go into a small town in Ireland, oh, they will be chatting you up like, where are you from? Where are you from? Oh yeah, I forgot, I was gonna write something's down like in Irish. Actually no, I don't have to write it down, let me just say it. Yeah, let me just say it. So, Kanisa Tatu, how are you? Tame Kama, I'm very good. What else? Slana Walia, goodbye. Kane Ishtu, how old are you? Gurav Mahaguts, thank you. Gurav Meal Mahaguts, I don't know if they actually said that. Gurav Meal Mahaguts. Dia Goods, Dias Mergoods or something. It's been so long, I can't really remember, but I do definitely know the Kunasatatu, Tamigama, Slan Awalia, all that kind of stuff, and curly whirly chocolate bars with a caramel. I remember the Rolo chocolate, wine gums, which is more British, more UK, and then what else? Irish dancing. I did a little bit of Irish dancing, but let me see what I can write. Let's see what I can write in cursive. Sorry, you know, I'm kind of slow because I'm an earth sign, you know, so we take our time with things, but it's okay. At least I'm thinking things through and not rushing. It's not a competition, you know. Anyway, so this is what I wrote. Girl, these bitches be trippin'. The weather is absolute shite today. And that will be all for the lesson, and I will conclude now. No, I'm just joking, you know. I must be in the UK. Both the UK and Ireland have terrible weather. Terrible weather. I must be in the UK. The weather is absolute shite today. I must be in the UK. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. What else? All the cake with the ice cream on top. Yeah. So, yeah, I went cursive, and you know, you can definitely write spells in cursive. It's just like learning a new language, expanding your vocabulary, you know, all that kind of stuff. You're basically learning a new way to spellcast. You're learning a new way to spellcast because Like I mentioned earlier, spelling bee, you know, it's all about languages, spells. And people know this, you know, the Catholic Church, the Christian Church certainly knows this. The suppression of pagan ways of living and being, the pagan spirituality, was very important in keeping Irish people controlled, and just like other cultures in the world, you know, keeping them controlled. But when you look at Ireland, you really see this, like as an example, you really see the power that the church had over the entire country. It was like the British and the church were in control of everything. Recently, I found out that I have some Irish and Scottish heritage on my mother's side, which really surprised me because I never knew this when I was in Ireland. I never knew this. Now my grandmother's last name and great-grandmother's last name are Irish or connected to Ireland. I didn't really suspect that I had Irish in me. I never really cared about my genealogy, but after doing the DNA test results and all that, I do have a little bit of like Irish and Scottish on my mother's side, but I have more like Scandinavian on my dad's side. And I mean, you would never know, right? Because I don't really look Irish, you know. I don't have the pasty white skin, the red hair, the freckles, or anything like that. So, you know, and I never really felt a connection to Ireland even when I was there. Like it's a beautiful country, it rains a lot, you know. The apple crumble is freaking nasty, but the fish and chips are freaking amazing, and the curry chips are amazing, but their scones are like dry as fuck. So, you know, there's like pros and cons to Ireland, just like any other country. But what I will say is that I'm pretty happy that a lot of Irish people are going back to their more pagan roots, their more Celtic roots, because the way that the Catholic Church really suppressed their culture alongside the British, and the way that they really like controlled people and controlled women was like a terrible thing. And Irish people were treated very badly by the British. At the same time, you know, when you discuss Britain with Irish people, or when Irish people bring up Britain, they have such an issue with Britain, but what I find is that some Irish people are mixed in with the Brits, so some of them might have like a great-grandmother or grandparent that is British, from maybe even Scotland, maybe from Wales, maybe from England. So, you know, there's a really like negative talk with the British people, and Irish will gladly share it with you, because, and if you have like Caribbean heritage, you will really understand that, because Caribbean people, like Caribbean countries, certain Caribbean islands were former colonies of the UK, so Caribbean people can really empathize with Irish people, and even some Irish people were brought to the Caribbean by underneath the British system, you know, class system. They were brought into the certain Caribbean islands, so you can really empathize, because I do have Caribbean heritage, so you can really empathize with Irish people. But at the same time, it's like some Irish people might not even know about their former British heritage. They could be talking ill about the British system, but they might not be aware that one of their grandparents, great-grandparents might have been a Brit, you know, might have been from the UK and all that. So it's quite interesting, you know. Some Irish people are mixed in with the Scots, they're mixed in with the Welsh people, so and other things as well, not just people from the UK, you know. There has been like a little bit of mix, even, you know, when the Vikings were there and all that. The Blarney Stone, Geminis certainly don't have to kiss the Blarney Stone to get the gift of gab. They can just talk and all that. But I did visit the Blarney Stone, and I took out photos and all this kind of stuff and kissed the Blarney Stone, but I was always kind of chatty and talkative myself, and especially with the right crowd, with the right energy, I could definitely be very talkative and chatty if I'm enjoying myself, having a good time. I don't really need a pint, because some people, they kind of rely on certain substances to calm and ease their anxiety, and Mercury is associated with anxiety. anxious feelings, nervousness, nervous energy. You know, when you have a lot of ideas, like a Gemini, for example, you know, or even an Aquarius, it could be like information overload, and you have so much energy and ideas and things get out, that tension can build up in your body, and you can become very anxious, and you know, you just want to articulate how you feel, because it's just part of you. And if you don't articulate how you feel, or if you don't get your ideas out and express ideas and certain things you have stored in you, it's kind of like, it can kind of like override your system, if that makes sense. Like, there's some people, they have to just talk things out. They can't just sit back, relax. Some people have to talk things out. Other people can listen to music. Other people can exercise to like release anxiety and tension and all that in their body, release any kind of nervous energy. They can like exercise. For myself, I like exercising and dancing and all of that. And some people listen to music, but other people have to definitely talk it out, because they're just more of that communicative kind of person. Those dry ass scones, oh my goodness, they're dry as hell, like dry as hell. And you know, the fish and chips and the curry chips, I do miss those. You know, the fish and chips with salt and vinegar and all of that, you know, the black pepper and salt, and that's the only seasoning you're gonna get, you know, in Ireland, black pepper and salt. And they definitely had nice fresh fish and chips from the sea, and the tea was great as well, just like British tea, lovely teas, and really nice kind of food places in Ireland where you can get really nice specialty foods, really high quality, fine quality specialty foods, specialty teas, specialty cheeses, specialty meats, preserved kind of foods, and preserves. You can find preserves in those specialty food stores, and just things from around the world as well in those specialty food stores. Yeah, and the weather is absolute shite. Like, I'm just being honest, it's absolute shite. Like, it rains all the time, but you know, you have to be down with the spring if you want to go there. You need to make sure you have your umbrella, your rain jacket and all that, because it's like always spring. I used to love those Cadbury cream eggs around Easter time, and those chocolate bunnies that they'd sell at Tesco and the Lidl and Aldi stores that people used to turn down their nose at. They used to think like, oh, those Lidl and Aldi stores, they're so like tacky and foreign and cheaper, blah blah. But then they eventually became popular. I'm just letting my gift of gab flow right now when I discuss Ireland. What else should I say? Well, Irish people, since they were very monocultural, just like in Korea, Koreans were very monocultural, like they weren't really exposed to foreigners. Ireland was the same as Korea, like they weren't really exposed to people that didn't really look like them. And mind you, a lot of Irish people had immigrated out of Ireland, moved to America, moved to the Caribbean, certain parts of the world, moved to Australia. So even though a lot of Irish people had left, they didn't necessarily go back to Ireland, like go back to live in. No, like sometimes when they left and immigrated, like especially in the past, like long time ago, like grandmother's time ago, they didn't go back to Ireland. Okay, they stayed in America, they stayed in Australia, and they had families there, new generations of Americans and Australians and whatever. So when you go to Ireland and you meet the people that never left, the people that are very monocultural, the people in the small towns, they're not exposed to people that don't look like them or from different cultures. So I found that the conversations I had with them, and this was a few years ago, I don't know if it's changed, maybe it has, with the newer immigrants to Ireland, but when I was there, sometimes the conversation when I was there was a little bit one-dimensional, so it was a little bit like to do with stereotypes, because when Irish people saw black people on TV, brown people on TV, they're depicted a certain way, just like Asians are depicted a certain way. So it's like, if you aren't a basketball player or a singer or, you know, a good dancer, it's like, well, what are you? You know, because the black people on TV in Ireland, when they would see black people on TV, it's like they're a gangster, they're a basketball player, they're a singer, a good dancer. So you must be a good dancer, you must be a terrific singer. If you are a black man, you must be a basketball player or a thug or a gangster. Like, it was very stereotypical. And I'm just being honest, because unless the Irish person was exposed to other people, like in school, or traveled and seen and experienced different cultures, if they didn't experience that, sometimes they were a little bit more not open, not knowledgeable about the variety of people of different racial groups, racial categories. So some of my Caribbean friends that were living in Ireland would be having conversations with Irish people, and Irish people, they have the gift of gab, like Gemini. They will talk a lot, they will talk your ear off, and then they'll be like, wow, your English is so good, what part of Africa do you come from? But this person's from Jamaica, so you know, it's like former British colony. And because in the Caribbean, because of like certain colonizing things that happened in the Caribbean, or certain countries that, you know, took over the islands in the Caribbean, you know, the French were there, the Spanish were there, the Dutch were there, and then the British were there. And the British, you know, had a lot of the islands, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, you know, all those islands and all that. So, you know, people in the Caribbean speak English, but it's like, the first question that came out of the Irish person's mouth was, oh, you speak great English, what part of Africa do you come from? And it's like, you know, it's like, for some people it's definitely offensive, but for an Irish person, they're just having a laugh in the pub, and they're not really thinking a lot about what they said and all this. But, you know, for some people it could definitely be offensive. But just like with the Korean people, the Irish weren't really exposed to people that were different to them, especially people that like stayed in Ireland. And yeah, so Irish people, you know, they're nice. They can have a good laugh with you, you know. They're very nice people, very hospitable kind of people. But a little bit like, if they're not from a city, they can be a little bit more like, don't really know about certain cultures, or don't really know how to how to have a normal conversation with people. I love Guinness beef stew. I'm not much of a beer drinker, and I tried beer, like a pint of beer before, and I felt like really full. I couldn't even eat anything or drink anything after having a pint. And Irish beers and stuff are quite heavy and quite strong. And if you're not used to it, it's kind of like you have to get used to it. You have to practice drinking, you know. Practice drinking, because I find that the beers or pints are quite heavy, like food, you know. But yeah, I really enjoyed Guinness beef stew. So what are the negative sides of Mercury? Because I like to mention the negative sides of planets, just like when people discuss the negative sides of certain zodiac signs. So with Mercury, if you can picture one of those food reviewers, one of those knowledge snobs, one of those overly critical types of people, overly maybe nitpicky or judgmental types of people, that is like the dark shadow aspect of Mercury. These people might be perfectionists, like everything, to the point that they're very critical of others, critical of themselves, critical of every single thing around them, you know, a little bit OCD with their criticizing, a little bit OCD with it. You need to kind of look at the shadow, dark aspects of Virgo and Gemini when discussing the dark sides of Mercury. So overly analytical, overly science-oriented, always in the head, always in the logic, never really delving into emotions and feelings, being so cold and emotionally detached that you might end up causing a little bit of misunderstanding with certain types of people. Not being emotionally sound, not being emotionally intelligent enough, because you're so focused on the facts and the dry parts, the dry facts, the science, the technology, you know, robotics, AI technology, artificial intelligence, and innovation and all this, but you lose the humanity when you're too focused on the innovation stuff, the robotic stuff, the technology. Even with IT fields and all that, working on a computer all day, every day, not taking a break to connect with nature, not going to the park, not having plants in your house, not engaging with people in a more natural way, just always on the screen with people. So that's why, even in my field, which is definitely creative and online and graphic designing, and it can be interactive with people, but since we're in this modern age now, the communications field is definitely more digital. It's definitely more like, it's definitely more behind the screen now. I'm kind of like from the newer generation, so I grew up with technology, I grew up with computers, laptops, all that, and I do remember the world without the cell phone though, and going to a concert without recording everything. I do remember the playgrounds being packed and all that, and depending on the country, playgrounds can still be packed, amusement parks can still be packed. Things haven't disappeared, humanity has not disappeared. We're not that far ahead into the future, but finding that humanity is important sometimes, and reminding ourselves that we're not the only person on this planet. There's others around. There's nice food from different cultures all around us, so seeing the beauty in humanity is nice, because while humanity is not perfect and has a lot of flaws in it, and society has a lot of flaws, there's also good parts to humanity, certain good parts to society and people. So it's a balance, and we ourselves have to be balanced. If we aren't balanced ourselves, will we be able to perceive the balance of the world around us? Maybe not. So yes, knowledge snobs, nervous, anxious energy is associated with the negative sides of Mercury. So being erratic, being nervous, being kind of like unpredictable in a bad way, not having empathy, not having feelings, not having any emotions. But on the more positive flip side of this, people with strong Mercury, strong Virgo and Gemini would make great scientists, great analysts, great doctors and surgeons, because some of them might be able to separate emotions from their job. If they're performing an operation or something, you have to be kind of like separate the emotions a bit to perform in that job. So for some doctors, scientists, and surgeons, they can't be too emotional when they're performing, because they won't be able to maybe achieve or accomplish things. They might be getting in their feelings, so they can't be too emotional when they're performing an operation or certain things, because it can throw them off during the procedure. So they have to separate the logic and the emotions. They have to separate those two. So yes, Mercury, how do you process knowledge? How do you internalize knowledge? How do you share knowledge with others? How do you come up with new ideas? How often do you come up with new ideas? Does it take you some time? Are you very quick, like a air sign? Do you come up with really amazing, innovative ideas? Do you have the ability to analyze things very well around you, review things in depth and in detail, like around you? Are you gifted with your mind to the point where you can really memorize things very, very well? You have great cognitive skills. Can you remember things that other people won't remember, like from your childhood? Do you have superpower, like with your brain? Are you an inventor, an innovator? Are you great with new forms of technology, or are you creating new forms of technology? Because this is all to do with Mercury, the communicator, the messenger. Hermes is also a trickster, also kind of two-faced himself. That's why he has the good and bad side, because he is associated with the underworld. He has access to the underworld. A lot of people say things like, oh, I'm going to get my workout in, I'm going to train my body, I'm going to get ripped, I'm going to, I'm going to go to the gym, get ripped and stuff like that. But some people would rather exercise their brain they would rather exercise up here than their body. Some people spend a lot of time and energy studying and exercise on top here rather than their body. And when you have discussions with people, you'll know who's been working their brain more, who's been traveling more, who's been researching things more than others. And knowledge is not just textbook knowledge. Knowledge can be life knowledge. That's why I included travel in there, because traveling is a form of knowledge. If you are taking time to immerse yourself in that new culture and stuff, then you are learning. You are taking in new information when you are there in that country. So yes, life experiences can definitely be lessons in life. It's like the lessons of life, because a lot of learning happens outside of the classroom. A lot of people place importance and emphasis on schools and getting education, and I understand that. I got my own university degree, I completed, my own education and all this, but a lot of life happens outside of the classroom, and people need to realize that. Also, a lot of teachings that we have in North America is sometimes needs an update because it's not 100% accurate, it's not 100% up with the times, and sometimes it's missing and lacking certain information as well. But since the curriculum is set in place, it could be very difficult for people to change it, for people to add in new things, and people want others to think a certain way. So unfortunately, it is what it is with the public school system, just like it is what it is with the government, just like it is what it is with the law enforcement and the judicial system. There's different brain exercises that people do to improve their cognitive skills, their memory skills, memorization and all that. So I remember playing Pictionary and doing certain puzzles, and even Scrabble is another way to improve your cognitive skills. Memorizing certain things is good, for training your mind, for helping with memory. What else? There's so many different ways: puzzles, Sudoku, crosswords, word search, many different methods. In school, children have to memorize a lot because they have to learn language, they have to learn math, they have to learn communication skills in school, and each child is going to have their own ways and methods of learning. Not every child learns the same as their peer or peers. They don't learn the same as their peers. So some people are more visual learners, some people are more audio learners, some people are more kinesthetic, touchy-feely learners. When people kind of critique and score children, the analytic types, when they critique and score children, sometimes I wonder if there's a little bit of a misunderstanding. Because if a child is learning a certain subject and they're being taught it in a certain way, maybe in a visual way, but this child is more of a audio learner, and it's too many photos and all this kind of stuff, it's like, that doesn't necessarily mean that the child is bad at this subject. So there's some children that I think are mislabeled. Like, the labeling is wrong. When people say, oh, they're strong in this area, but they're weak in this area, or they're strong in this subject, they're weak in this subject. But I think that since children learn in different ways, sometimes things that people say are weak in the child is actually not weak. It's just that the child is not learning through the perceived method of learning. See, this child is more of a visual learner. This child is more of an audio learner. They like more audio, more talk, more chatter. So, in the public school system, people have to follow the kind of narrow paths that have been provided within it. But just because people say, oh, you're not too good at math, you're not too good at science, that doesn't necessarily mean the child isn't good at math and science. I think that it really depends. Maybe it could be It could be this kind of material that's given to them. It could be the teacher. It could be the way that it's being taught. Like it's very visual, or it's very audio, and this child just learns in a different way. You know, it could be many reasons, but yeah, that's a subject for another day. Clearly, children are going to be memorizing a lot in school, so Mercury is playing a big role when it comes to children developing their cognitive skills, developing their social skills and communication skills, because they'll be socializing with people in the classroom, with their teacher, with their peers, and they'll be learning how to communicate effectively with the people around them. I know I was saying, oh, people communicate with their body, you know, water signs communicate with their body, but some people communicate through imagery, like videos. They communicate through photos. They communicate through art. Art is a form of expression and creation, and people can communicate ideas, concepts, and themes through art, whether it is sculpture, whether it is a painting, whether it is mixed media. They can communicate ideas, concepts, and themes through their art. They can spark discussion and debates through their art. Art is a vehicle of communication. It is associated with Mercury and communication. Mercury is definitely creative because, like I stated before, it's all about innovation and new ideas, new concepts, and new things. So that's why when I mentioned Geminis and Virgos are actually creative, you know, some of them, they're in the sciences, yes, they're in technology and IT fields, yes, but some of these scientists are wacky and have an artistic streak. And there are quite a few scientists that are artists, or quite a few tech junkies, tech people that are artists and create art on the side of their IT job. They are artists like on the side as like a part-time job and all this. So, you know, I don't watch these people slide at all. I don't watch Virgos slide at all, because most of the Virgos I know definitely have a creative edge, a creative streak, and an artistic side to them. Even if they are analytical and stuff, they do have an artistic side, and I have seen them create art. Hermes is like, ring, 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 ring. Check your inbox, bitch. Hermes is kind of rude, you know, like especially if he wants to be rude. Like, open your DMs, you know, see what I sent you. He's also kind of innovative in the sense that he will kind of have you meet people through online platforms. So in this day and age, we meet people on online platforms, we meet people on social media, Facebook, Instagram. There's meetup groups on WhatsApp and all this kind of stuff, meetup groups online. Through the digital world, you can meet various people from all walks of life by just opening your DMs, opening your instant messenger, joining an online group, creating and starting your own online group. And that is the power of Hermes, the messenger. The you've got mail, the bitch, check your inbox, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah, these days people meet their tribe, you know, find your tribe. But some people meet their tribe online. They find people with similar interests online. They might find their soulmate online. They might find their future spouse, their future partner, future boyfriend, girlfriend online. So we have the online dating component. With the way that communication has developed, you know, with the technology, people have been able to meet people online, like on these digital platforms, and form connections before even meeting in person. Before even meeting in person, they meet online. So sometimes in this day and age, online is like the first step to meeting someone in real life. And that's how we have developed in society. Now it's like we rather meet someone digitally and then see if we connect to their digital self, and then we'll meet them in person. But people have to be careful, because the way people portray themselves online isn't necessarily how they act in real life. It really depends. You know, some people it's the same, and others it might be different. For example, I like this food traveler called Mark Wiens, and he is really down to earth, really fun, and I honestly think he's like that in person. I don't know because I've never met him, but I do feel like the way that he acts on camera is kind of like how he's going to be in person. Mercury is associated with communication industries, like language schools. It's associated with communications, PR firms. So how would I describe a perfume? I use certain perfume terminology and words to describe perfumes. I use words like sillage, I use words like lasting power, I use words like scent trail, you know, stuff like that. Niche fragrance. There's certain words associated with perfume. There's a certain way of describing perfume to people, and a certain type of language that you use when you're communicating to describe perfume. This is C by Giorgio Armani. And you need to kind of put yourself in the whole perfume world when you are describing perfume, because there's ways of describing perfumes. There's certain terminology, and people really get into detail with it. I like to learn new things. I like to expand my vocabulary. And that is associated with Mercury, because Mercury is all about language and communication. Mercury is about maybe learning a second language, being bilingual, being multilingual, studying new languages, and pursuing communications studies. So yeah, that's basically it. Stay tuned for my other planet videos. Subscribe to the channel and subscribe to my Subliminal Channel, where I create amazing subliminals that help people manifest and achieve their goals in life. I will see you in the next one.